My name is Christopher Neely. I am the politics and policy reporter for Lookout. I'm originally from New Jersey and got started at Lookout in October 2022. Well, it started just trying to take stock of how this storm affected each part of the county, where was hit the hardest, which places were under evacuation warning. I remember I learned how to check the river gauges just to see and keep an eye on how the Corralitos Creek and Soquel Creek were flowing and the Pajaro were flowing, and just really paying attention to that and seeing which areas were going to be impacted. And then the role kind of changed a lot throughout the whole 3 months. I mean, we were doing a little bit of everything. There was a policy question of how the county was responding. And then there was also just a real human element on like how people were impacted from, mid-county in Soquel all the way up to Boulder Creek in the mountains. Our team was required to be all over the county. And I know, I remember Wallace going down to South County. I remember going up to the mountains, Max covering Santa Cruz and Soquel, and Kevin, taking photos all over the place. We had our office, but it felt like the office was maybe like a place to find some refuge in between going out and just being on the ground, feet on the ground, eyes on the scene, which we found like to be the most important aspect of reporting on this. We're a local news outlet. We should be on the ground seeing what's happening and reporting from as close to this as possible. As a journalist, you are reporting on things that are happening. They're not really happening to you as much. It kind of allows you the benefit of kind of floating above and seeing everything from like a little bit of a removed view. And that's been the case no matter what the story is throughout my career. It was hard to not feel like this was also happening to me and the people that I knew. Traveling to go see the mud that covered and the flooding in a mobile home park in Soquel was, that's the first image I really remember. Just kind of walking through mud, seeing state, county officials walk through that neighborhood, going into people's homes and seeing just mud and just everything ruined inside these mobile home parks. And just, it's hard to, those things like don't hit you in the moment, but you can really feel the gravity. You eventually feel the gravity of them, and then when you're writing about it too, you kind of just realize like, this is major. This is not something that happens typically. And I'd only been here for like 3 months at that time, so I wasn't exactly sure like what happens in Santa Cruz typically, but this felt bigger than that. I remember feeling really exhausted, honestly. I think people are like, oh, you won't remember feeling tired, but I definitely remember the exhaustion of that time. And the storms, everyone in the county was feeling that because we had, 11 or 13 atmospheric rivers hit the county. And it just felt like we never got a break for 3.5 months. Never really got a chance to dry out either, I remember wondering if it was ever going to stop. And I remember just thinking a lot about what stories, what corners we might not be covering well, and we ended up covering it all very well. But there was this sense that, there are mountains in the community, or communities in the mountains that have power outages for a week or longer. South County was having its own flooding issues, and, the senior neighborhoods were being flooded out. And the story just felt so all over the place. And I remember just constantly wondering if we were doing a good enough job, because we had a small team, and I knew we were working over our capacity, but the moment just felt so big, and really it felt like we were kind of the only ones, constantly on the ground covering this thing. We did win a Pulitzer Prize. It's definitely a complicated feeling because the Pulitzer is a great honor. And it's the pinnacle of achievement in journalism. But it does come on the back of some real devastation that our county felt. And it's complicated to celebrate a victory like that when the stories involved or people are still recovering from them. Those were life-changing moments for a lot of people. People had to move, people had to say goodbye to their homes. People are probably still digging out of debt from repairs. Some people had to move out of the county. And we were all able to stay here, and we are all able to keep our homes and keep our jobs. And we had to do this really Herculean task of covering this thing, but we weren't affected in the same way as a lot of people. And so it is a little bit complicated to celebrate this, but the breaking news award for the Pulitzer is really about rising to the moment. And we absolutely rose to the moment, and no matter the complicated feelings that come with this kind of award for reporting on devastation, because the people who were impacted by it are not getting an award. But I just know, I take comfort in knowing that we were called to a moment and we really rose to the occasion, and that's really satisfying to know that, and inspiring too. And it's not just something where it's like, oh, you did a great job covering this disaster and here's an award. It's like it was our jobs what we did, and we did it well. So.